Yo, call me an RPG rascalin' pussy grunt. Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the Games Cage. Today, and only today, that's right, we are here to talk about the future potential of a new Sonic game, and that is going to be a Sonic RPG. Now, this comes way of Good Vibes Gaming that got to do an interview with Izuka, which, by the way, I've also done an interview with Izuka, so if you'd like to go see mine, you can go do that. But over at GVG, they were able to get an exclusive quote from Izuka that said, "Personally, I really like role-playing games. The RPG game format is a lot of fun, and I've thought to myself, you know, for the past 30 years, we haven't done a Sonic RPG. Nice retconning of Sonic Chronicles' existence completely. And I'm questioning myself, why haven't we done a Sonic RPG in all this time? How would we have gotten to 30 years and no RPG? So I'd like to hopefully work on a Sonic RPG at some point before I retire from Sega. Now, that's just a dream right now, but there are no concrete plans right here and now." So, guys, let's talk about why this is such a big deal. One, there is a lot of directions this could have gone. This is a PR answer at the end of the day, and I feel like if Izuka didn't want to say this or think about this, he would have just said, I have no interest in this. He would have said, you know, Sonic doesn't really feel right as an RPG, but him dedicatingly saying that really means that either something I feel is cooking or it's something passionate that he really wants to do before his time off at Sega. Now, you could argue in some ways Sonic is headed in that direction in a light manner, and how a lot of games are nowadays. I feel like a lot of video games nowadays are RPGs just because every open world feels like, you know, you level up, you get some skills. I feel like almost every video game wants to do that. In fact, in some ways, Sonic Frontiers is a extremely light RPG, right? Because, you know, you do level up, you do get skills as you level up through the game, or it's less leveling up, you're just kind of getting stats. You are leveling up your stats throughout, but again, it's like these are light elements. I wouldn't call Sonic Frontiers an RPG, right? But it definitely has light elements. So I figured today we would discuss what genre or style of game Sonic would excel in as an RPG. So make sure to subscribe to your boy if you'd like to see more videos like this, and let's get right into it. Now, let's start with what feels like the most obvious. I mean, Sega internally is a massive company that has worked on JRPGs. You have Phantasy Star Online, you have Valkyria Chronicles, but most importantly, they have Persona and most recently Yakuza. Now, Persona to me is the #1 hit. I feel like Sonic Team working closely with Atlas to work on a Sonic turn-based RPG would be incredible. Could you imagine a Sonic RPG with, like, you know, the UI of a Persona game with, you know, the special attacks, the flashy moves? I feel like them working with Atlas Team is the match made in heaven, but also I feel like what is possibly the best outcome here. You know, the thing that I think makes the most sense. You know, it's the studio closest to you who has the biggest expertise, who's gotten the critical acclaim. I feel like the headlines would go insane. Sonic Team X Atlas for a Sonic RPG would be something I feel like we would never, you know, hear the end of. And I feel like having, you know, social links even as a concept with Sonic characters is awesome. It doesn't need to go obviously in the realm of dating and all that stuff, but just the idea of, you know, building bonds with characters, exploring and all that would be so cool. And I feel like they'd have to format it a little differently. We're seeing with the game Metaphor that they're exploring, you know, much larger areas, you know, and exploring different bigger areas, and you even see that in Shin Megami Tensei 5. So I feel like a Sonic game with open areas where you can, you know, run fast, fight random enemies you find, you know, do your turn-based fights, maybe find some NPCs, do some side quest, social links, I feel like is a match made in heaven. On another side, you even have the RGG Studios with Yakuza. Now, I know a lot of the Yakuza games are action games, but recently with Yakuza 7 and Infinite Wealth, right, you have a turn-based RPG style where you can sort of move around while you're attacking, and you're using things around your surroundings to attack things. I feel like that would be really cool with Sonic in the gang. I always picture like a Sonic RPG nowadays would really be that you're running around with Sonic, you engage in a fight, and then, you know, the gang spawns in with you, some crazy specials. You could definitely move around, play with the speed. I feel like something like that would be really, really cool. And I know they have Valkyria Chronicles that does enter a bit of the, you know, the more tactical realm where, you know, it's about areas you're standing around, or even they have Persona 5 tactics like that. But to me, that would, I feel like, be the most lame, to be honest, in terms of Sonic. I know a lot of people like that genre, but I feel like with Sonic being in an RPG, I feel like you need something to show off really cool specials, and that still keeps a bit of a fast pace. I don't think with a Sonic RPG, you'd want to be in a battle for more than 5 to 10 minutes. Obviously, if it's a boss fight's a boss fight, but I feel like you want quick-based battles just so you feel the sense of speed. The specials you could do, team attacks would be incredible. For me, though, the big dream would be looking into Nintendo, right? Not necessarily maybe to work on it, but even just the style of a Mario and Luigi or Paper Mario style Sonic RPG. Let's start with Mario and Luigi, because I think they're very distinct, right? Mario and Luigi would be very fun for Sonic, where the whole gimmick of Mario and Luigi is one character is controlled by A, another is controlled by B. You're controlling two characters at once. I think that would be really cool. I mean, Sonic is always about pairing up with his friends. So imagine you could choose different party members, like, you know, Sonic and Tails, Knuckles and Tails, or you know, Amy and Sonic, Amy and Shadow, Sonic and Shadow, like all these different pair-ups with different team-up attacks or moves they could do together would be awesome. Could you imagine the cool pair-ups you could do? Like, think of Sonic Advance with the special moves, but in an RPG style. That would be so cool to me. I would love if they did something like that. I feel like it could work. You know, you have a sense of engagement in fight. You're doing cool moves. I would love that. Or even, bro, hear me out. Mario and Sonic RPG. It's a lock, bro. Get the team that's working on the Mario and Luigi games. Put Sonic in there. I feel like it would be a match made in heaven, especially if we're not getting the Olympic Games anymore. I feel like it's time. Like, fuck it. You know, I feel like Mario and Sonic working together, it should not be the last time we see it via Olympics. I think an RPG would be the best first way to bring the relationship together before we get to a platformer, which obviously would make the most sense. But I do also think a Sonic RPG in the veins of a Paper Mario would be extremely cool, right? Because in that game, you know, it's a singular character, but you do have a partner character with you. Obviously, it'd be really cool if you were collecting different characters, you know, like your Tails or your Shadows, or even get some weird ones, get your Cream and Cheeses, get your Tangle and Whispers. I feel like an IDW Paper Mario style RPG would be sick. It doesn't even need to be that aesthetic, but a cartoony art style would be extremely beautiful for that kind of game. And I think that game could work because Paper Mario is all about these timing attacks, right? You're doing an individual character, but it'll be also like mini games. Like sometimes, you know, you have to rotate the stick to a certain amount. You have to hold the stick back. You know, sometimes you have to hold A and then B. Like, it has different attack movements. I think that could work. Like, I feel like, you know, with Tails, you rotate the stick to get him flying and then tossing one of his weapons on the ground. With Sonic, you could run back and forth, press A at the right time to time some homing attacks. Right? With Knuckles, you could time the punches to certain attacks. Like, it would be so cool. And I think for me, that's the dream. Is the premium dream with all that with a Sonic RPG would be something in that vein. There is the more modern Japanese RPG style they could go with, which is like the FF7 Rebirth or Tales of Arise of the world, where if you notice, these are the modern JRPGs where basically, yeah, it's a JRPG, you know, and they're technically turn-based in some way, but they're action-paced and they're so fast. You can run around a certain area you have in a map. Basically, you would get into a fight and you're almost in an arena getting ready to start the fight, doing attacks, special moves, and I think to me that would also be cool because I think incorporating the idea of maybe an open world of some kind where Sonic can explore would be really cool. Obviously, you don't want to set the expectations of a Sonic platformer in an RPG, right? I don't think we're gonna have a world where, you know, we have our momentum-based movement and our rolls and all this stuff, but at least some kind of open space to run around and explore, get into fights would be so sick in a world that looked as, you know, stylized as something like a Tales of Arise or even something like an FF7 Rebirth, right? Where it really feels like just these beautiful open areas you can run through and just get into some crazy battles. Now, you could go the Xenoblade route and make it a bit, what do you call those? Like active turn-based RPGs, where basically in Xenoblade, you know, you have your party scattered and they have certain moves that you could do after certain cooldowns or after certain buffs or attacks happen. And I think that would be pretty cool. Obviously with Xenoblade, there's a bit of a slowness in terms of how the characters move, but I don't mind the idea, you know, charging up some attacks with characters. Eventually you get level 2 and maybe you unlock Super Sonic as an ultra move. Like, there's a lot of potential you could have with the Xenoblade one. And also, by the way, feel free to let me know what you would love to see in the RPG style for a Sonic game. Like, what's your dream? But I do think at its core, right, I feel like the best way to do this would be a sprite-based RPG. Think of, you know, a vein of a Chrono Trigger or maybe, you know, old school Dragon Quest in some ways or something. Like, I feel like, I don't know, sprite work for Sonic has always been so cool. And obviously, we have to talk about Final Fantasy Sonic games from back in the day. Those were such massive pieces of internet lore and they were really famous. And I feel like if Sonic Team really thought about it. You know what I'm saying? You see this back here, this art we have a side back here. If they really thought about it, making this idea a reality, obviously not calling it Sonic Final Fantasy, making that a reality would be mind-shattering, bro. I'm telling you, the heads that would spin if we had modern day sprites. And think about now, you got to think the long term, right? What's the long term of something like this, right? With a Sonic sprite-based RPG, not only would you be creating sprites that look incredible for new moments, but you would maybe start a whole new generation of sprite battles, right? To this day, people are using sprites from Sonic Advance for, you know, animations and things. If they did a new sprite-based game with new sprites, new animations, oh my god, bro, the internet would change once again. And so I feel like, to me, Sega really leaning into what people grew up with and loved and thinking about that is a strong consideration they could go into, right? Because it's that or something extremely stylized. And I think it's you gotta go, for me, like the top 3 options would be the Persona-like RPG, right? The Mario Luigi / Paper Mario type, or something old school and sprite based. But regardless, I love that Sega is having these conversations now, and I think we're at a point with Sonic where we're gonna start to see more genres. I mean, we're already seeing stuff like Sonic Rumble, you know, where it's tapping into the more mobile game, party game. We've seen Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is more like a visual novel, and we're starting to see Sonic get into genres we don't normally see him in. And I feel like it's time to start expanding that. You know, give me a Sonic beat 'em up, give me the Sonic RPG you're talking about, give me a Sonic fighting game. Like, I think it's time to expand the IP and give it to other developers who probably could do some really cool shit. I'm sure a lot of developers would have loved to work on a Sonic game. There's a lot of developers that would love to work on a platform or something, but the RPG genre is so big nowadays. I mean, we're seeing games like Nier now sell 5 to 8 million copies. We're seeing sales of Persona hitting 3 to 5 million copies. We are seeing RPGs just sell like crazy. It is not like the old days where they were a bit of a niche. They're massive, and I feel like doing that for Sonic would be unbelievable, and Sega could make so much money and make something so cool and have a cool sub-series that revolves around a more deeper story too. Like, that's a big thing, is like you can make a story that people are really invested in. Those kind of games that could be canon, big part of the lore. You could have Eggman playable. Oh dude, you could feature so many characters and it would be so incredible. But guys, let me know what style of RPG you'd like to see Sonic in, and of course, you guys are the best. Thank you for subscribing and watching. I love you all, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.